We give our first impressions of the all-new 2019 Audi A6, discuss Ford's announcement of an all-electric F-150 pickup truck, and whether a bumper-to-bumper warranty is worth your money. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode. I'm John Lincove.
I'm Ryan Pizlikowski.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
And this week in some electric vehicle news, Ford has announced their plans for the near future for their EVs. First off, a Mustang-inspired, I have to give you quotes, crossover. In 2021, they might bring out a fully electric Ford F-150. And then in 2022, two mid-size EV crossovers. We have history of it, but I think the biggest thing is that the F-150 was shown towing 10 double-decker rail cars with 42 F-150s, which equals 625 tons. Ryan, is a fully electric 625-ton towable electric F-150 what truck buyers want?
Oh, man. It depends on the range. Me personally, the electric cars can have power. I mean, there's no doubt it'll be able to tow a ton or 600 tons, whatever. That's a stunt. I mean, I'm sure it can do something impressive. But,
yeah, how long did it do it and how far could it go?
That's whatever. But to me, on a weekend when I'm driving around, bombing around town, doing stuff, the last thing I'm thinking about is like worrying about charging this thing. If it can make it an entire weekend without me charging it, or you're towing stuff, you're going to be using the battery more. It all depends on what it's actually capable of charge-wise, I think.
I mean, it's a huge seller. So if they said get the 10% they thought, it's still a ton of vehicles.
Yeah.
Again, a ton.
Yeah. No, I mean this is big news because it's Ford, and that is like the number one selling vehicle, right? I don't know what the attitude's going to be towards an electric truck. I mean, this is America.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with people have embraced these EcoBoost motors, which got away from the V8. That's been impressive, I think, and those are great motors.
The turbocharged four-cylinder and six-cylinder, right?
I don't know about an electric truck. I don't know.
Part of it comes from possibly, because they haven't said exactly, the link up with Rivian, which has EV plans. And Ford put $500 million into Rivian, which it hasn't built the vehicle yet.
Well, what's interesting about that is, you look at Rivian, who looks pretty serious in terms of kind of getting into think of more like the Tesla space, in terms of like a startup and whatnot. But, Rivian is like kind of getting really into like big, useful vehicles, like a big 3-row SUV and a big pickup truck. So it's definitely interesting, getting that market, and it looks like that, perhaps this partnership or investing is going to allow them to get, an F-150 potentially with some of the same parts. Who knows? But I mean, what Rivian's been talking about is a 400-mile range, and if you really think about that, what 400 miles means is that we do have a pretty decent electric infrastructure now across the country. So I mean, if you want to stop every 350 miles and maybe have a meal or something, because I mean, how long do you really want to drive?
If it's a fast charger.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at, what you can do on fast chargers and what it takes to have lunch.
Sure.
You get most of that 400 miles back or whatever you've driven. So, it is a possibility. It is interesting, again, getting in the head of, like you say, in terms of truck buyers.
It's a mentality that concerns me. I mean, the technology, I feel like they're going to get there. They're going to make this stuff happen, but
truck buyers have surprised us in the past.
Yeah,
so, I mean, like you said, the 3.5 EcoBoost that was in the Ford F-150, they sold that right alongside with the big V8.
Yeah.
And it surprised me that people were going for the V6. Again, F-150, took a big risk on all aluminum. And I know, some of the competitors were saying, oh, that's just aluminum, that's going to break or whatever.
Right.
But again, F-150 is doing really well. So who knows?
Going back to the towing thing for a second, so the 3.5 EcoBoost, with the right setup, tows more than the 5-liter V8.
Right.
And I think that's what people were interested in that. This thing had the performance. This electric truck could potentially tow even way more than that. I mean, we know the power that electricity has.
But to your point about range, what's it going to do at range? So if you actually wanted to tow a some kind of travel trailer or whatever, camper, RV, I mean, suddenly that 400 turns into who knows what.
Right.
And now it might be a little awkward to try to get into that charging station. So who knows, depending on who it is. So maybe an occasional use.
Yeah,
vehicle.
parallel, trying to pull a
you
regular
imagine?
vehicle into a gas station,
Right?
for some people's like me,
There's a-
multi-turn.
Maybe it's not for that buyer, but I mean, I think there'll be a.
But as a work truck, maybe.
But even if it's like 5% of the sales, it's huge numbers.
40,000 vehicles possibly.
And I think it's really cool that Ford is really taking this seriously. I mean, it's not just the F-150; it's this Mustang. I mean,
well, I was
Mustang
going to
things
go
like-
there.
It's
yeah.
just like random words: Mustang, crossover, SUV, electric. It's like
It's like a word jumble.
throw in autonomous or
Exactly.
something. I mean,
yes.
it's just like all the stuff.
But it's kind of about time they got maybe serious about it, and really step into the electric completely.
Right.
If they the little SUVs, that makes sense. I mean, that's kind of where things are going.
Well,
obviously.
and it is an interesting point in the sense that EV history was a Focus electric early on, and that was 100 miles of range.
Right.
And then the C-Max and the Fusion, the sedan and the small SUV hatchback, they were just plug-in hybrids. And in some ways, Ford being late or waiting. And a lot of people said, like, where's Ford? And they're not, they're not Tesla and they're not an early adopter. Makes sense. Much like the other manufacturers that we've seen, like Jaguar and Audi.
I'll tell you what I would love to see. I would love to see an electric small pickup truck, honestly. Because, I mean, for my needs, like, I occasionally need a pickup truck. And I think a lot of people do this. They have the pickup truck for when they need it.
Yeah.
And I could see, like, okay, fine, it's electric. And you're not worried about it if it sits for a while. If it's electric, keep it on trickle charge or whatever.
Yeah.
So on that, we have a lot of information on EVs and other electric vehicles on consumerreports.org. So check it out there. So in other news, just before this episode taped, the National Transportation Safety Board made documents public about a crash between a Tesla Model S and a fire truck back in January 2018 in California. Jake, what can our audience take away from this?
All right, so the driver was using autopilot, and he's fine. But so what was interesting is when they talked to the driver, he understood. He said, I understood the limitations of autopilot. He knew that autopilot wasn't, you still had to pay attention and all these different things about it. But despite that, inevitably people get distracted, even knowing the details of this. And I think we're seeing more and more of this. It's just the way the system operates. And we see this. So like, for instance, when we went and we rated these types of systems, we really said that the Cadillac system was really the best, because what the Cadillac system does uniquely is it makes sure that the driver's looking where they're going. It's got a camera that looks at the driver. Without that support,
Cruise, right?
this is Cadillac Super Cruise.
Right.
Without that support, and you see this with the Tesla Autopilot, and regardless of if the driver understands the limitations and knows they should look, it's just human nature. It's human nature when you go a certain distance and you don't have to turn the wheel and adjust that. You don't have to do the speed control. You're going to look, do something else, maybe get distracted of it. And in this situation, we've all had these types of situations. You're driving someone and somebody pulls out and something's there right away. Sure. You got to be paying attention right away. And, I could tell everyone, pay attention. But the point is that you need that support with the system. It needs to be designed a way to make sure that driver's
Used to
engaged.
watch you, make sure you're watching it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what you're saying is they kind of encourage complacency on the part of the driver, because it just becomes easy to do other things.
And it's not like they consciously do this. It's just that it just happens, And it's like, look, I could tell you, like, hey, watch that paint dry over there. Keep your eye on it. And you could be like, okay. I'm like, it's really important, John. You got to do that. Okay. Yeah, you know what? After 5 minutes,
It's drying.
you're going to look away. You're going to do something else.
Yep.
It's just human nature. Unless there's someone that's going to go and, poke you or, give you an alert and say, oh, John, you're not looking. You got to keep looking at that paint.
Sure.
You need the support. It's got to be designed in that way.
Well, we reached out to Tesla via email. Here's what they said. While our driver monitoring system for autopilot repeatedly reminds drivers of their responsibility to remain attentive and prohibits the use of autopilot when warnings are ignored, we've also introduced numerous updates to make our safeguards smarter, safer, and more effective across every hardware platform we've deployed. So for more on the story, go back to consumerreports.org. So now we're going to move to the newest test car in our fleet, which is the Audi A6. We bought the, hold on, to this lingo, the A6 45 TFSI, which means it's powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that makes 248 horsepower. It uses a 7-speed automatic transmission, and our version drives all four wheels, the Quattro system. The suggested retail price, $59,390, but we were able to knock it down to $53,711. Ryan, what's your take on it? The whole segment is putting a lot of 2-liter turbo engines, turbo 4-cylinders in it. Does it hold up?
Yeah, so the big news here is it's a pretty good sized car with a 4-cylinder turbo in it. I think it has plenty of power after driving it. It's still a 4-cylinder in a $60,000 car, almost.
Yep.
So my point here is our last E-Class, Mercedes E-Class, had a 4-cylinder in it. I didn't know till the second time I drove it that it was a 4-cylinder. This car I knew right away. Not because of the power, but just at low speeds, it has this little bit of a shudder, has that vibration of a 4-cylinder. And maybe this is just me, but I can feel that. And it gives it a little bit less of a premium feeling. The other problem I have is the last A6 had the 3-liter supercharged motor in it. And that was fantastic.
Right.
Like I have a hard time getting over that. That was like a sweet spot.
They still have that, just costs a little more.
Yeah, not 60.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. It's a great car. I mean, it has power. It had a little bit of a hesitation off the line, I felt.
I was gonna say city versus highway.
Yeah. Once you're cruising, I mean, it's a nice car. You wouldn't complain, I don't think, about any of that. The interior is a carryover from the A8, really. I'm kind of used to all that stuff, so I thought it was quite nice.
Yeah, so they have the dual touchscreen, Jake. Up top and down low, and it gives you a little feedback.
Right.
You've actually had a lot of comments on that. I think towards the positive side about how Audi has integrated their system.
So often in this time, like I go and argue with you about the driving experience. I'm going to argue with you.
Okay.
And I'm going to argue with you because you said it's the newest car in our fleet, and it was interesting. And I don't think it's interesting, and it's not the newest car in our fleet.
Okay.
Because we just picked up late last night an Audi Q3, which we don't want to talk about because I haven't even been in the car.
I didn't want to give away the news for the next podcast.
In a future podcast, we'll hear about that. But that is the car that matters because, look, this is a big sedan. And, yeah, you know what? Look, let's cut to the chase. We talked about the A4. We've talked about the A8. It's kind of in the middle. Yeah. It's got a very similar control system. When you look up what we said about that, it's kind of got the haptic feedback and, it clicks and stuff like that. It's got the Google stuff that's all neat. It's very similar driving experience. I mean, it's kind of like, you cut the sausage in different sizes, right? It's very similar to the A4 and the 8. But this is a world where luxury means SUVs.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's going to be, all the small SUVs and the Q3, that's where it's going to be. I mean, these are the cars, every one of them, I don't care if it's Mercedes-Benz or Cadillac or whatever, everyone is buying small luxury SUVs. I mean, what's even the future of these sedans? I don't even know.
Unfortunately, you're right. I don't want to talk about it anymore. No,
we're done.
I love sedans. SUVs are taking over. We get that, but I think it's still interesting. They're putting these smaller motors and they're performing quite well in these cars. Sure. I think there's the downside of that though is you lose some of that premium feeling to the vibrations and the sound. It's just not there.
That's where
it's a high end. It's a high end car. Let's face it. I mean,
but you're totally right because I mean we are seeing that. I mean, just in terms of the trends of these small turbocharged engines. Right. They do the performance.
Yes,
they get the fuel economy. They get the performance. They do the 0 to 60, but it's a completely different experience.
Yes. They sound tractor-like when the door is open.
It doesn't.
You're standing there,
it doesn't sound as good,
right.
And it's a compromise that we're doing for all these things.
But beside the engine, there's driving aspect of it. But what about actually sitting in it? And enjoying it or not enjoying it? Is it roomy?
Yeah,
I mean, one of the things I'm sorry to step on you. The A8 for such a big car had no interior storage space whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I agree. This has room in it, and most German cars have a little more room in them. I feel like this is a A6, so it's a little bigger. I think the interior is beautiful, just like the A8.
It's lacking some interior storage, right? It's got that the cubby, and you can kind of like almost put a few pencils in there,
They don't have the console compartment's not acceptable. I mean, there should be like somewhere to put some stuff.
But I think ultimately, though, I mean, this is a car that it drives nice. It's got nice handling, and the ride is really good. It's very, very quiet. All those kind of Audi-like qualities. And the other Audi-like quality, which I think a lot of people don't know or maybe they keep a think of Audis of the past. Audis make reliable vehicles. Right. So, I mean, our data is showing year after year that Audi is consistently making a lot of cars that really do last. Sure. They don't have a lot of problems with them. Better than the other German competitors, and actually better than a lot of the Japanese luxury makes.
I like the car. Again, I I've had Audis in the past.
Yep.
I know my wife really wants one of these. She wants an A8, but that's not happening. I like driving it. It is quiet. It cruises very well. It's very nice. It's a $60,000 car. It should be kind of nice.
Should be nice, right?
It should be nice. So we're going to have more information on it with our first drive. We actually have up there the 3-liter version, and we're going to be finishing testing soon. So check out consumerreports.org for more on the A6. So at this point, we're going to move on to audience questions. Send them in to us, talkingcars@icloud.com. The first one is a video question from Dave from Madison, Wisconsin. Dave, take it away.
Hi, Talking Cars. I am in my 2007 Nissan Murano SL all-wheel drive, and I love this car. It only has 86,000 miles on it, and I want it to last for 200,000 miles. I'm pretty bad when it comes to keeping up with maintenance. We try to get in for a regular oil change. But besides that, what can I do to help maintain and help this car last for as long as possible? I live in Madison, Wisconsin, so we do have the winter weather to deal with. Are there any tips or things that I should absolutely be doing to help keep this car going? Thanks.
Okay, so Ryan, Dave's talking about running his 2007 Nissan Murano to 200,000, miles plus, infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
You talked to our chief mechanic, John Ibbotson. He had a little bit of information on how to keep it going.
He didn't say much. He
Fair
said,
enough.
read the manual.
That sounds like John. That does sound like
It's
John.
very John-like thing to say. So nowadays, these cars are engineered to a certain specification, and they put all the information you need to know how to maintain this vehicle in the manual. So he mentions he's not that great at keeping up with the maintenance.
Yeah, he kind of
You
sometimes
need
does
to
the
keep up
oil
with that.
change.
You have to keep up with that. Changing the oil is imperative. I mean, there's no way around that. And the manual is going to walk you through all those steps along the way. Up to 200,000 miles, you're actually going to repeat some of this stuff, some of the big stuff. The transmission that car might have a lifetime fluid in there. It might tell you not to do anything. Don't do anything. Whatever the manual tells you.
Yeah, and he seems pretty lucky in the sense it's low miles for such an old car.
Well, I mean, Ryan's totally right. I mean, the thing about these things, I mean, we often get these questions like there's like some kind of like magic dust you could do or some kind of like treatment you could get on your car. And the truth is that you go to the manual and you do what's in the manual. Don't do extra.
Exactly.
And sometimes like you might go to a shop and they're like, oh, we're going to do this for you and some kind of special flush or whatever. Sometimes you could do more harm than good with those things. So these things are engineered a certain way. They're designed a certain way. Right. Do what is on that manual. Right. Don't do any less. Don't do any more, and you're going to be okay. Right.
Granted, along that way, you're going to run into some issues. There's going to be things that you have to fix.
Sure.
But as far as the engine going that far, if you change the oil, you should be able to get to
keeping it reliable versus stuff just ends up breaking.
Exactly.
200,000 mile
Just
car
stay
from
on top of
07. Gonna break.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna move on to our next one from Dr. Alex from Connecticut, local guy. At what temperature do you measure wet and dry braking for your published tire reviews and ratings? You've said that winter tires have advantages in cold weather, but just in snow. Are winter tires actually superior in colder temps, or is it just not quite as bad as your published data suggests? I'm going to go to Ryan again. Just keep turning right. Ryan, you're a tire expert.
Yeah.
What answer for Dr. Alex?
This is a great question. It's an interesting topic, actually. So to answer his question first, I wrote down some gibberish here. When we do our braking, this is either roundabout numbers because every year it's different. Roughly the air, we do it in the spring, so the air temperature is about 70 degrees. It's mild. The wet surface is about 70 degrees because the sun's hitting, even if it's not sunny, the surface has some warmth to it, and we're running pond water over it. So this water kind of cools it back down. The dry surface is roughly around 100 degrees because of the sun load and just, it's air. When the air's that warm, the ground is still warmer. So what we did though is there was a claim. Gene Peterson, my boss, was in charge of tire testing. We read a claim that winter tires actually stopped better on dry asphalt in sub-zero temperatures, really cold temperatures, and we were perplexed by that. So we did a little investigation, as we do around here, and we took some tires. We took 16 different tires models, 8 winter tires and 8 all-season tires, and we got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, came up here on a cold day. It was the air temperature was 25 degrees and the surface was 10 degrees because it was in the middle of winter.
Dry surface.
Dry surface.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously we couldn't do wet at that because
But no snow or anything.
No, just a dry surface. Because at the end of the day, you have a snowstorm around here. The snow gets cleared off the roads, and the roads are generally clear most of the time. It's not like we're always driving on snow. There are places in the country and way up north in Canada that it's always snowing, so that's that. But what we found though was all-season tires stopped about the same.
So the all seasons didn't have any change.
There was very little. We would say that they didn't change.
Okay.
It was very little. The winter tires did stop shorter than themselves in the warmer temperatures by about 8%, but they were still considerably longer than the all-season tires.
Okay.
The reason we test them all at that the warm temperature is because these all get rated. They're all on a similar ratings scale at the end of the day, and we want to show people that these winter tires are much worse on dry and wet surfaces for braking than an all-season tire.
Okay, so what's the overall advice?
I know that was a lot what I said there. But so overall, what happens is if you have to drive, if it's winter and you have to drive in the snow, we recommend you have winter tires because they will get you through snow and ice safely.
So regular snow up in Canada, up in the northern tier, packed snow. Okay.
If you can afford to not drive in the snow and wait for the storm to be over. All-season tires are going to be better because they do on dry, clear roads perform better than snow tires. Absolutely. But that's the compromise. Tires are a compromise. So you have to kind of weigh out your situation and, you go to our ratings, check out what we have for information on tires, and you make a decision from there.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Go to consumerreports.org. We've got a ton of tire information. All right, so that brings us to our final question from Steven, who says, I recently purchased a 2019 Honda CR-V. During the buying process, I was offered a lifetime bumper-to-bumper warranty for about $3,000 for as long as the original owner had the vehicle. For someone who keeps their vehicles a long time, it seems like it could be a decent value. I didn't purchase the warranty, but was intrigued with the warranty and wanted to know if the CR staff is familiar with this type of warranty and what your advice would be. So Jake, what kind of advice would you have for Mr. Steven there?
It's a lot of money. It's about 10% of the cost of the vehicle, and it's something that you may or may not be using down the road. So it's interesting, he says this type of warranty. There's lots of different types of this kinds of warranty. Some are offered by the manufacturer, some are offered by a third party. Sometimes you're offered by a third party that's not around 5 years down the road. Sometimes it's a bumper-to-bumper warranty that you can only get it fixed in certain areas, in certain shops. So first of all, absolutely read all the fine print. But the other thing is, look, the cars are going to be under warranty for a couple of years. Take that $3,000, put it in a bank, or invest it or something. Yeah. And you know what? Down the road, look, CR-V is a reliable vehicle.
I was going to say that. It's a CR-V.
Yeah, if you're...
It's going to be all right.
I think you're going to be okay. I think, take the $3,000, put it away. Rainy day fund.
Is there a time, though, to buy a warranty like that? So maybe not a CR-V.
You do the math. You know what? They're not going to they're not going to go and sell these warranties and lose money on them, right? So statistically, you're going to lose money if you're buying the warranty. I'll throw that out there. What you're buying is peace of mind. And if you're buying a vehicle that does not have a very good reliability history, maybe you want to consider it, but maybe you should consider maybe not buying that car. So I'll just throw that out there too.
That's fair. And also you don't have to buy it at the point of purchase, right? You can buy it a year into it, 2 years. You can find out, oh my gosh, I love the car, but it's really not that reliable, so I can get the warranty, right?
Yeah. That's worth asking while you're buying it, at least. Can I buy this later on?
Yeah. Certainly. Well, my brother-in-law bought a BMW X3, and he called me up. He goes, I'm at the finance and insurance person's office, and they're trying to sell me this warranty. And I said, you could buy it down the road. And he says that later on, after he told the woman that he didn't want to buy it, she goes, oh, yeah, we'll sell it to you later if you want. So, you can get them down the road. You don't have to buy it at the point of purchase. A Honda CR-V, pretty reliable. So that's going to do it for this episode. As always, check out the show notes for more information. Also, send us your questions, talkingcars@icloud.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.